3 months ago, German steelmaker ThyssenKrupp announced to the world that they wanted to build a $3.7 billion steel mill in North Mobile County. 2 years ago, EADS announced that they want to build Air Force tankers at Mobile's Brookley Field. The two announcements rang out around the world. Alabama is open for business. Alabama has turned into an economic hotspot, and nowhere will the changes be more drastic than right here. What can you expect? How will this change our stretch of the Gulf Coast? And how can you get in on the action? News 5 traveled to France and Germany. It's economic coverage you can count on as News 5 presents Mobile's Makeover.
Hello, and thanks for joining us. I'm Mel Showers.
And I'm Roseanne Haven. We are on the Mobile River. The Port of Mobile is the lifeblood of the area's economy.
For hundreds of years, the port has drawn people and businesses to this area. It continues to be one of Mobile's biggest economic assets, playing a huge role in two major companies deciding to locate here.
Over the next hour, we'll show you how Mobile County's economic boom will affect every single person in our area, and we'll tell you how you can benefit from the changes that are coming.
This is a fully interactive special report, so don't miss all the special features on WKRG.com.
I'm Tiffany Craig, and I'll be your navigator through the projects that will take us from one end of Mobile County to the other. We start at the top, right on the Mobile-Washington County line, where a massive project is beginning to take shape. ThyssenKrupp is building a $3.7 billion steel plant here in Calvert. The impact will be felt for miles around, but it will completely change the lives of the people you're about to meet. Dawn, Jennifer, and Gina Hovel call Calvert, Alabama home.
This is where I've raised two children, and everybody knows everybody else here, and everybody gets along with everyone. It's a peaceful community.
Gina's a transplant from Mobile. Dawn is a proud country boy.
I was born and raised here. I've been here all my life.
For years, they wondered what might come of the woods out back along the Tombigbee River.
There had already probably been half a dozen rumors of plants coming to here, and it's never came to pass. And you know, that was 20 years ago, so we're saying, you know, probably never happened.
A few cars and the occasional train were all that came and went. Gina rarely notices the noise.
When I first moved here, they were really loud and would wake you up in the middle of the night, but we're used to them now.
15 years of remodeling, and the house on Harville Road is their dream home.
We picked what we wanted to do. We studied, drew it out actually, and did it. And we just knew over the years we would end up with what we wanted just in time.
For our neighbor.
For our neighbors to come in.
This time the rumors were true. The biggest economic project in Alabama's history is moving in, 400 feet away.
Economically, we're happy that people are going to benefit from this. But no one up and down this road will probably say that they're happy that it's here.
The Hovels are doing research and weighing their options.
When you look at the maps and you look at our houses compared to the plant itself, it's massive. It's just huge. We're like little bitty dots compared to the plant itself, and it's overwhelming.
So many have questions about the new steel plant. Imagine what the Hovels want to know.
It's scary. All we can do is take it day by day and just hope and pray for the best. That's all we can do. They really seem sincere in all of their efforts to make it as safe as they possibly can for us here. And we can just have to wait and see what happens.
This is what the site in Calvert looks like. To know how it will transform in the next few years, you have to travel to Europe. So News 5 went to Western Germany, and now we're back to show you. We stopped in at Calvert's Beehive Cafe on Fried Chicken Day.
And really, really busy today.
It doesn't take long to figure out what the buzz is at the Beehive. What do people talk about here?
This steel mill. That's all goes on.
While the chicken's still hot, we fired up our laptop with video from ThyssenKrupp in Germany. We saw firsthand how they do steel.
Know what that is, dude? That's steel, man.
And what they plan to roll out here.
This will be done in Alabama. Not only this, but of course the pre-treatment like cold rolling and the very first hot rolling.
We toured 2 sites in Western Germany. They'll be combined into a flagship American mega site in Calvert.
And of course the new plant in Mobile will consist of a very nice, optimized, state-of-the-art technology.
That's going to be amazing.
The Little family feasted their eyes on America's biggest economic development project.
Well, it's exciting to me because you never see things like that, you know, very often.
Carbon and stainless will be made in Alabama to create anything you can think of that's made of steel. This is some of the finished product made by ThyssenKrupp Steel. This stuff could be used to make washing machines and other household appliances. The steel will be made to order in Calvert for the company's American customers. Yeah, those are German guys working.
It's gonna be nice.
More than 2,700 people will be working right across the street from the Beehive one day. What kind of job would you like to do there?
Crane operator.
And since the new site will be more than twice the size of nearby Mount Vernon, Fried Chicken Day will never be the same. Thousands of you will one day get a paycheck from ThyssenKrupp USA. So what's it like to work there? We grabbed a translator and asked the Germans who work for the steel giant. ThyssenKrupp Steel has about 190,000 workers in 70 different countries, and Germany is home base. So we made our way through the heat and the noise of the steel mill to meet their workers, like Ralph Burgard.
This job has a lot of future for me, and it makes a lot of fun.
Ralph has worked in the furnace area for 20 years and says you get used to that heat.
That's the heat and the dust in which we have to work. Yes, but it belongs to our job.
Sifo Bashtug is a shift supervisor and was curious when he saw our cameras.
Yes.
You know Alabama?
Alabama, USA. Alabama, Texas?
No. This 18-year veteran of steel admits the job can be stressful.
It's not physically hard, but the pressure is there because we want to run good quality. We have pretty difficult customers.
Workers like to ride bikes through the massive complex, and most tell us they like it here.
My name is Frank Traeger, and I'm within ThyssenKrupp since 1983.
Frank's a foreman and a newlywed, but says the shift work can be hard for his new bride, Katerina.
I don't like the shift models because you have early, which means that the family is suffering every now and then.
These steel workers are not going anywhere, but as we ended our tour, we learned the Bama-bound management team was in the process of packing up. Are you going to live in Alabama?
Yes, I'm going to do so. I'm just moving over in a few weeks of time.
The executives like to joke that they walk through the mill sometimes to prepare for the Alabama weather. To learn more about jobs at ThyssenKrupp, visit our website at WKRG.com.
How do you get a job with ThyssenKrupp? And what effect will the steel mill have on the environment? News 5 took your questions to Europe. We'll give you the answers next.
We asked you, our viewers, what kind of questions you would ask ThyssenKrupp. Well, we took those questions straight to the people with the answers. News 5 viewers had a variety of things to ask ThyssenKrupp. Now, Arthur wants to know if most of the jobs will go to Germans.
You would hurt the organization here. So we take a sprinkling of people from Germany and bring them over. Some key knowledge people especially that would help us get the plant started, etc. But clearly, we are going to hire a lot of people, Americans.
Bob Soulier, one of TK's top execs, says they'll work hard to hire locally too. Carrie from Calvert is worried about her quality of life.
And I would like to know what the noise is going to be like, because we live right on the road, on Sims Road.
TK's Uli Albrecht-Frew tackles that question.
I told them there will be a change. You can be sure there will be a change. We talked about noise, and I said we're going to build up a berm just for getting the noise as low as possible.
The berm is expected to be 30 feet high and will also block the view. We got an email from a viewer asking, when is the work starting?
We're saying November, where we really start to put some focus on this and know exactly what we're working for when.
Construction is set to begin in early 2008, and Annie in Calvert can't help but wonder
what it's going to bring into our community besides money. I mean, that's good and well. Jobs is good and well too, but we still need to know how it's going to affect our community as a whole.
TK execs say they will be transparent as they move in and welcome questions as they go. And you understand their concerns?
Absolutely, absolutely. I said we're going to have expectations, we're going to have constraints, and we're going to talk from the very beginning in order to understand where we are and what we can do.
One of the most popular questions from viewers is how will the plant affect our environment, as meteorologist Janae Young reports.
From air to land and water, the new ThyssenKrupp steel plant will have an impact on all three. Right now, which water source the plant will use is undecided. It's between the Tombigbee River or water wells. As for land, it's still being developed. The air issue is what's being decided right now. ThyssenKrupp has to let the state know what kinds of chemicals they're putting into the air. According to the EPA, these chemicals could impact ground-level ozone, climate change, and general health. Casey Calloway with Mobile's Baykeepers says you need to be concerned.
Alabama has some of the weakest standards in the country for doing environmental protection.
But according to TK's Christian Koenig, you shouldn't worry.
In terms of air emissions, we're well below the set standards. There will be no effects for the communities.
TK says the Calvert plant will be held to the same standards as all their other plants.
Germany's known for its engineering and for its tough environmental standards, and we will intend to follow these here.
That includes standards for TK smokestacks. The smokestacks use traps called bag houses, which are like coffee filters for emissions.
You know, the air is drawn into it, the particulates come into it, it filters out all the particulate matters. It's got a 99.9% efficiency rating.
TK purchased 3,500 acres of land. 1,300 acres, including high-quality wetlands, will remain undeveloped. But in order to build the plant, TK says low-quality wetlands will be taken out.
TK is doing a good bit of restoration down here to accommodate for taking these wetlands out.
News 5 spoke to Patrick Harper with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife. Harper says a few endangered species live where the plant will be built. Endangered species like the gopher tortoise. TK is transferring the tortoises to a local conservation area. So far, 8 gopher tortoises have been moved. There's also no snake kill deal during construction. The measure was put into place to protect the endangered eastern indigo snake and the black pine snake. The third environmental concern is where TK will get the water needed to cool the steel.
If they choose to use groundwater system to pull, then what's that going to do to waterways downstream? What kind of an impact is it going to be?
The plant will use 10 million gallons of water a day.
But the water for the cooling purposes will be recycled up to 8 times. So that minimizes the water consumption, the water we take either out of the river or the wells.
It's still 10 million gallons every single day will be withdrawn from the plant. Now they are going to use it efficiently, and that's great.
News 5 will follow TK's water source decision, including where wastewater will end up. Meteorologist Janae Young, News 5.
The 30-day comment period for TK's air permit ended last week. ADEM only received 1 comment from Mobile's Baykeepers. ADEM will review that comment and write a response to the group, and we'll let you know if any changes are made for TK's air permit. You can read Mobile Baykeepers' opinion about the plant on our website, WKRG.com. Search the keyword TK plant.
As the saying goes, you have to give a little to get a lot. Landing one of the largest economic deals did not come cheap, as you're about to find out. We're getting out the calculators to tally up cost of bringing steel to South Alabama.
The announcement today of ThyssenKrupp, we've really truly made you the man.
But this rock-solid deal didn't come cheap. For starters, TK doesn't have to pay state and local taxes for decades. That adds up to more than $360 million.
Well, those taxes would not have been there. In other words, without the project, those taxes are not going to happen anyway.
Not only do they get a tax break, but money too. Alabama's giving the steel company more than $460 million. That pays for things like workforce training and preparing the site in Calvert. $70 million in that pot comes from Mobile County and more than $30 from the city of Mobile.
The city of Mobile, obviously putting $33.5 million into it, made the price tag over $100 million locally.
County Commissioner Steve Nodine helped map out the money for us, but says there's an important thing to remember here.
All this is being done without raising taxes or cutting services, and that's some of the factors that went into making the decision on how far Mobile County would go on the incentives.
The county's money is set to come from the pay-as-you-go road project, but you'll make that ultimate decision in a vote in October.
The effects of this are astronomical for the coffers of Mobile County and its citizens. Not only do we get high-paying jobs for the citizens of Mobile County, which we've been without for almost 20 years, but also it helps strengthen the infrastructure of Mobile County, not only through the road projects that we're getting back, but also putting good-paying jobs on the ground for decades to come.
The whole package to the steel company is worth more than $800 million. But TK is expected to make a $900 on Alabama every year.
Alabama's unemployment rate is near record lows, but ThyssenKrupp will be looking to hire thousands of new workers.
We are going to hire a lot of people.
Will the workforce be there? And the new steel mill is one of the biggest economic development projects in U.S. history. And it was kept quiet right up until the end. We'll show you how they kept the $3.7 billion secret next.
ThyssenKrupp already has a paper trail here in Alabama, and News 5 is following it. You're looking at real resumes from people who want to get their hands on a steel job that could pay more than $40,000 a year. But the process of hiring is a job in itself.
Well, I mean, ThyssenKrupp is a project of gigantic proportions. I mean, from the very beginning, it was hard for us to really get our arms around it.
Now, getting their arms around all the resumes is hard for Mobile's Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber has hundreds of paper resumes that people have mailed in. They all want to work for ThyssenKrupp. And if you think this is a lot, think about this. They have thousands more online. The online count is 4,300, and the actual application process hasn't even started.
The response has been phenomenal.
Some of the jobs up for grabs: plant operations management, equipment operations, logistics, and production. If you don't have a computer, get out your envelopes and address them to the Mobile Chamber of Commerce. Their address: P.O. Box 2187, Mobile, Alabama 36652. And don't forget to jot down "Attention TK resumes" on that envelope. Landing one of the 2,700 jobs could mean a trip to Germany for training.
We're going to have them work in the mill here for 6, 9, 12, 15 months. And we'll have them a place to live, and so that they learn how the steel operates, and they get to get proper training. And then we'll bring them back to the U.S., and they'll be a key part of our team.
A human resources worker will join the staff soon. That's when the ball really starts rolling for both construction work and the permanent jobs.
For more than a year, the big steel deal was an even bigger secret. Code names and secret trips were all part of the buildup in moving ThyssenKrupp to Alabama. The reason why is no longer a secret.
Who can forget the reactions the day we won the steel deal?
We were just elated. I think this is one of those dance in the street kind of announcements for us.
Well, if you're going to do some dancing, let us know so we can get video of that.
Okay, we'll do that.
On May 11th, 2007, TK made it official.
We are excited to call Alabama home today.
But it was such a big deal that for a year before Decision Day, it was simply known by a code name, Compass North Star.
Well, a compass gives you a sense of direction, and we started out with 67 sites in 20 states, so we needed a sense of direction. A compass always points to the north, and the north, abbreviated by the letter N, stands for North America.
Christian Koenig finally let us in on what was top secret, but while they were narrowing down sites in 20 states, it was secrecy all the way.
That one name was used in all correspondence and all the emails, in telephone conversations, so as not to reveal the nature of this project.
The night before the big announcement, when the steel fight was down to Alabama and Louisiana, company execs stayed in Mississippi to keep things under wraps.
We chose Jackson, Mississippi because it was halfway between Baton Rouge, the capital of Louisiana, and Montgomery, the Alabama state capital.
But as soon as the German Steel Board voted back home, TK found its new one in Alabama.
Now that the secret is out, business is booming in Alabama.
It's an exciting time to be from South Alabama.
But what is it about our stretch of the Gulf Coast? And if you want to see how big business changes an area, you have to look no farther than a couple of hours north. We'll show you how a small town was transformed next.
From the steel deal in the north to the possible Air Force tanker at Mobile's Brookley Field, South Alabama is the hot spot of the state right now. So what is it that we're doing so right? Ask this Mobile native, Congressman Joe Bonner, and he'll tell you it's the governor's doing.
You know, he's not from Mobile. We've had governors from Mobile, but we've never had a governor who has made Mobile and South Alabama a priority like he has.
But Bob Riley's not doing it alone. He has a team of helpers like this man.
I guess, you know, I am a salesman. I mean, that's what we do, is we market the state and sell the state.
Meet Neil Wade, a Monroeville native who heads up Alabama's development office.
In the 4 years that we've been in office, Mobile is one of the hottest areas that we have.
Wade has a diverse staff of 60, including Dr. Hayo Dries, a German native who can wheel and deal.
Oftentimes I play a very, very minor role, and that role can be that at dinner I sit next to the CEO of the companies and we chat in German about what it's like to live in Alabama as a German.
Wade believes the success of big business makes others want to get in on the Alabama action.
And I think Alabama, because of Mercedes and Honda and those who've come in the 90s, it has established a record that companies can come here and be successful.
It's safe to say that this Port City politician couldn't be happier.
We're now looking at a regional growth that is unprecedented in a 300-plus year history of a city that I think is going to be the catalyst for even better times ahead.
As for who really gets the credit, Alabama's salesman says it hits much closer to home.
Economic developers don't win projects. Communities win projects.
So I guess that means you can pat yourselves on the back for making South Alabama so hot. If you want to see how big business can really change an entire city, all you have to do is head north on I-65. The city of Greenville, Alabama was once no more than a bathroom break for those on road trips, but not anymore. Greenville, Alabama, population 7,500 and bursting at the seams.
I hesitate to say cosmopolitan, but we are somewhat advanced from what we were.
Gene Harden used to run the local paper and never thought change could happen so fast. Francine Wasden says the chamber is booming too.
In the last few months, we have added new members. I think I've had about 26 new members in the last 3 months.
But no one seems as proud of the growth as this man.
Yes, sir. My name's Dexter McClendon. I'm the mayor. We're just going to ride through real quick, okay? Thank you, sir.
Mayor Dexter McClendon gladly took us around town.
There's people in Greenville walking around going, my God, can you believe we got something like that?
From the $6 million movie theater, sprouting subdivisions, and plans for an upscale apartment complex, McClendon says look out South Alabama. Big business means big changes.
I mean, why are you up here talking about the steel plant right now? Because you know it's going to work. And we're a prime example of what's going to work.
And it's working in Greenville, thanks to this.
Obviously, we're in a Hyundai Motor Manufacturing assembly plant. We're in the building called General Assembly.
Hyundai moved a cow pasture out of the way and set up a car plant south of Montgomery.
We've got a lot of challenges each and every day, but we've got a great workforce, a dedicated team here, and everybody always pulls together, and we produce great high-quality vehicles.
Henry Barber walked into an employment office and ended up working for the Korean car company.
I was looking for another job and saw the Hyundai, and so I just asked the lady about it. She gave me an application. Before I knew it, a couple months later, they had called me and come in, go through the training.
Now Hyundai is 3,200 strong and growing, and two of their key suppliers call the city that's 35 miles south home.
We feel like the car gets started right here in Greenville, Alabama before it gets up to Hopewell to the Hyundai plant.
But getting those suppliers in Greenville didn't come cheap.
Commercial development has to come because you have to pay back for incentives that you have to do to get these businesses, and everybody has to pay for incentives.
The mayor says he sent Walmart some clippings from the car plant announcement and scored the big one.
Before Hyundai came, we just had a Walmart. Now we have a super Walmart.
Greenville can thank Hyundai for one more thing. Unemployment has dropped from 16 to 4%. Mobile's other big project is the KC-30 tanker. By the end of the year, we should know if it will be built at Brookley Field. If that happens, thousands of jobs will be created. We'll update you on the competition next.
The plane the Air Force is replacing is the KC-135. An Alabama Air National Guard unit uses it every day. We'll take you on a refueling mission a little later.
Now, let's talk about the fierce battle to win the biggest military deal in history. This project takes us down to Mobile's Brookley Field. EADS and Northrop Grumman will build Air Force refueling tankers here if they can take home the contract that's out for bid. The only problem is they have one well-known competitor, Boeing. Alabama's biggest cheerleader is putting on boxing gloves.
We love Boeing, but in this instance, we want this in Alabama. They want it in Seattle, and it is going to be hand-to-hand combat before it's over.
In this corner, you have EADS and Northrop Grumman. They have the bigger competitor, the KC-30 tanker.
Because we really do fundamentally believe that we've got an airplane that's somewhere between 25 and 35% more effective than theirs.
Their opponent is Boeing with its smaller KC-767.
I'm coming from the school of competition is good, but honestly, I think as a result of the capabilities we have, that we have a winning combination. And oh, by the way, it's made in America.
The champion takes home the title, winner of a $40 billion contract to build replacement tankers for the Air Force. The military's old champ, the KC-135, is almost down for the count. A promoter for the KC-30 team says this chart is their knockout punch. So this chart looks a little complicated, but I'm going to try and explain to you what this means. These are the capabilities, what the actual tanker can do when it's in the sky. There are three examples on here. The one you see in green is actually the KC-135. That is the tanker that the Air Force is currently using. Now, of course, you know they want to replace that tanker with a new one. Boeing's tanker is the one that's in white. Those are their capabilities. Of course, the red line, that is what the Alabama team says that the KC-30 can actually do. In other words, it can carry more passengers and has more fuel efficiency. Well, the KC-30 team says this says it all. Boeing says not so fast. Back in the ring, the Boeing team believes bigger isn't better in this match.
And so I think the KC-767 really has an advantage from being smaller, more agile, able to get into tighter airfields and be able to park more of them in those fields because of its size and capability.
But the KC-30 team says you never know what you might need in a fight.
So if there's a day that you don't have to have a tanker refueling airplanes, but you've got 200 wounded who've got to get back to the United States and we need to have an airplane that's got litters on them to carry back, then hey, we can do it.
A government contract wouldn't be complete without politics, so throw that in the ring too.
There's only 2 places in the world that build these planes, Toulouse, France, Seattle, Washington. I want there to be a third, Mobile, Alabama.
No one plans to throw in the towel early on this one. The final round should end in December. Will the tanker deal land in Mobile? We'll have to wait until the end of the year to find out. But there are lots of fingers crossed at Brookley Field, and many of those fingers belong to aerospace students. Growing up, Stanley Montgomery Jr. was fascinated by airplanes.
Ooh, I want to do this. Ooh, I want to do that. I want to see big airplanes like that.
Well, he never grew out of it. Neither did Quinn Hagwood.
You know, planes are tons and tons of weight. I've always wanted to see how they float.
So it makes sense that the two landed in the aviation program at Enterprise Ozark Community College.
What we teach here is a 2-year concentrated course to earn a federal certification that allows them to work on anything and everything that has wings or flies. Helicopters, blimps, it doesn't matter.
Larry Zimmer is the program director and has plenty of room for new students, but admits it takes a certain type to pass with flying colors.
And I tell students, there is no forgiveness at 5,000 feet. It has to be done right the first time. And the caliber of students that we get is completely different than what you would expect in other institutions or other schools.
This 2-year training is an alternative to college, and the sky's the limit after graduation.
Just all the hands-on work. Like when I graduate here, I get good pay, good job.
That's really what fuels you, isn't it?
Yeah.
But there's an interesting tidbit you should know about Quinn and Stanley. Have you ever flown before?
Oh, man. Not going to.
Never flown. Day of my life.
You see why I find this entertaining.
Yeah.
So it's a good thing having a fear of flying doesn't disqualify someone from a career in aerospace, because the training being done here is just what a new Air Force tanker needs to take off. Part of the promise made by EADS to the port city is to have a presence here no matter what the outcome of the tanker project. That promise is in full effect at Brookley Field.
Here we have room for 4, 5, 6 passengers in this particular layout.
You're about to see virtual plane building at Brookley Field. Welcome to the Airbus Engineering Center.
We are designing the interior portion of the aircraft on the Airbus A350.
For the 40 engineers here already, the aisles separate the Airbus cabin designers from the cargo.
Each engineer has its own cubicle area. The cubes, you'll notice, are low-walled, and we do that for a reason. We want to make sure there's a lot of collaboration.
Dave Trent is the site director for Airbus, which is owned by EADS.
What we do here is engineer the stuff that goes inside those fuselages. The flooring, the seats, the galleys, the sidewall panels, the air conditioning system, the entertainment system, all of these things.
Some admit still getting the occasional question about what some people think is a bus company.
I have been asked, oh, well, are you a driver, or what do you do for them?
Virtually everything in this state-of-the-art building is done on computer.
We use a frame chart for the actual aircraft. This gives us all the frame locations, which is, all the frames are shown here as well. But this is basically just gives us a reference point.
Now, another round of hiring is going on at the Brookley site. Ultimately, there'll be 150 engineers on one side of the aisle or the other.
I've got the section from basically about right here all the way to the back.
If you're trying to figure out how this place fits in with the tanker project, it doesn't, really.
And actually, we get a lot of people that come to the door looking for jobs on the tanker program. And it's interesting because we are here to support the commercial aspects of Airbus, not the tanker program.
Since Airbus is in the EADS family, this is a promise delivered.
If we're to lose the tanker bid, we exist with the strategy that we have currently in place for the long term. That is a commitment that we have made, Airbus has made to the city of Mobile.
So you're not going anywhere, regardless?
We're not going anywhere. If the tanker hits, it's all gravy.
Right now, 40 people work at the Airbus facility Mobile, but they're looking for new employees. They hope to hire 40 more people by the end of the year. They're looking for electrical equipment installation and electrical wire routing engineers. They're also looking for mechanical, stress, and aircraft systems engineers. You can send your resume to mobile.hr@airbus.com. For more information, go to WKRG.com and search the keyword Airbus.
The tanker being used by the Air Force now is still getting the job done. But what you might not know is that they're working hard here along the Gulf Coast, too. Their home base is in Birmingham, and that's where we took off on the ride of a lifetime. Birmingham's 117th Air Refuelers took us under their wing for a day.
Until you come up here and actually see it, I don't think you get a true appreciation for how unique it is.
You'll soon learn that this job comes with a sense of pride that's hard to put into words.
Some of these guys we grow up with, you know?
But we start this adventure from the ground up.
We have the forward body tank, and then back here, a little further back.
So we're walking on gas
We're walking on gas tanks right now. This whole floor is a center wing tank.
The massive Air Force plane has 10 fuel tanks on board. It can carry enough gas to run an average car for 47 years. I'm actually standing on the wing of a KC-135. And guess what else? There are 3 gas tanks right below my feet. 200,000 pounds of fuel are split between tanks in the wings, belly, and the back of the KC-135.
Turn right, heading 290. Okay, it is your airplane. Okay, roger, I got the jet.
Our mission takes us to Tyndall Air Force Base in Panama City, and that's where we really get to know the crew. This is Senior Master Sergeant Rick Dillard.
You have a great view. Yeah, the pilots up front get to see where we're going. I get to see where we've been.
Rick is a boom operator because the arm that extends to pump gas into the aircraft is called, you guessed it, the boom. He's quick to point out that his instrument panel faces the front, too.
If I need him to go left, I'm actually going, you know, I'm thinking right to him. He picks up on it. It's fun.
So you're backwards?
Basically, yeah. I'm also left-handed, too, so,
Boom operators like to joke that their job is to fly backwards, lie on their stomachs, and pass gas.
First receiver, boom pilot is left about 15 miles, 2,000 below. Roger, sir.
Mid-interview, the pilot tells us there's an F-15 on the way to get a fill-up.
We will attempt as the crew.
This is the pilot, Lieutenant Colonel Cliff James.
And this is sort of like a flying gas station. And if the boom operators are the ones that pump the gas, what would you guys be?
Well, there's probably no ground equivalent at a gas station, but if you could make some equivalent, we're more like the managers of the gas station.
Cliff's co-pilot is Major Darren Owens.
They're back there, you know, plugging those receivers, making sure they get their gas. We put the aircraft in a position as close to them as possible, and then they go ahead and complete the job.
We dropped down from 27,000 feet into an airspace reserved for military.
We flew a big NASCAR-like racetrack doing left-hand turns, and we waited on the F-15s that you saw.
Back at the boom, Rick is ready to pump gas.
Right now I've got the boom extended out to 10 feet, and then I'll make contact at 12 feet with him. He'll be in here to be 12 feet from us.
Watch as the fighter jets move in to refuel. If you follow the arm of the boom, you'll see where the gas goes. Each jet hooks up for a few minutes and then moves to the side of the tanker before taking off again. They're so close during fill-up, you can almost read the fighter pilot's name tag.
It's a crew concept. I'm kind of a people person myself, so I really enjoy the folks that I fly with. We have some of the best people you possibly could ever want to work with.
It might be hard to believe that all of this was done in a 1963 model tanker, but the commander says, don't let the year fool you.
If I could equate it, it's like you buying a 1963 car and having someone constantly changing the engine for you, putting new engines in it, constantly repainting it for you every few years, putting in new wiring, new electronics, and the only thing 1963 about it is the body style.
Now the military is looking to replace these Air Force favorites. And no, we're not talking about the crew. To learn more about the 117th and the KC-135, visit our website at WKRG.com.
In a perfect world, Mobile would be home to the ThyssenKrupp steel mill and the KC-30 tanker. But what happens if the tanker doesn't land in Mobile? The answer next. No one likes to ask the question, what if we don't get it? But there's a chance Mobile won't be home to the KC-30 tanker. When the competition is decided, Brookley could be a field of broken dreams. As you're about to find out, it wouldn't be the first time.
This model is a reminder of what could have been at Brookley in the early 90s.
We won. They chose Mobile. They chose a site here at Brookley.
But before the Indonesian aerospace company could start building the twin-engine turboprop planes in the U.S., Indonesia's economy collapsed, and so did the deal.
Put the project on the back burner, if not back in the cabinet.
Then an even bigger project flew onto Brookley's radar a decade later.
Brookley Field's current state of readiness and our loyal and eager workforce make it very advantageous for Boeing to build at Brookley.
This is part of the video created to showcase why Boeing belonged at Brookley.
One of the ways that we were trying to distinguish this area as a site was to establish, much like Washington, we have a long history with aviation, so that it wasn't like bringing a whole new world to our community.
A $900 million deal was up for grabs, along with 1,500 jobs, to build Boeing's 787, better known as the Dreamliner. But corruption inside the company stopped that search.
Ultimately, that resulted in resignations, retirements, replacements, and some of the executives ended up going to jail because of scandals.
Boeing kept its operation in Washington state and left Brookley flying solo again. Now we're in the home stretch of the latest competition, the heated Air Force tanker race.
And as long as I can look back on it, whether we win or lose, and know that I've done the best, I can be very comfortable with that. If I hadn't done the best and we don't get it, then shame on me.
There's always work going on to bring big business to our area. And for years, economic developers say they had to take maps to trade shows to point out Mobile. Well, they don't have to do that anymore. Now, everybody knows. I'm Tiffany Craig, News 5.
A decision about the new Air Force tanker is still months away, but ThyssenKrupp's a done deal. Those jobs are coming to our area.
And as the changes come, one thing that won't change is our commitment to covering them. Thanks for joining us.